All right. Thanks for joining us today. We are continuing on a very ambitious journey of talking about the Mindset Gap series. We've got a six-part series. This is the second episode where we're digging into the biggest questions that our real estate professionals have these days, things that get in the way of acquiring success, accumulating more success, and how to level up. We're learning all these things with the benefit of Dr. Hall as he walks us through the psychology of not only ourselves, but our clients and peers, and then kind of the practical application of how to address each item. We're talking about why high earners hit income levels, what your money story is and how that affects you. We're talking about how our nervous system addresses some of the issues we have, and just why it is we always seem to hit kind of a ceiling and how to break through that. Dr. Hall is a multi-time author. He's a public speaker and a business psychologist. And one of the things I like the most is the practical application of how to make this stuff work on a day-to-day basis. So with that, we'll bring Dr. Hall in. How you doing today, Dr. Hall?
I'm doing quite well. Really grateful to be here.
Yeah, these are exciting. This series is, I mean, I say that often, but for whatever reason, like this one right now is really resonating. And I'm super curious to get your insight on this.
Well, it's mindset is kind of where I spend my every day, so I love to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, and it comes through loud and clear, so we certainly appreciate it. But real quick, let me do some real quick housekeeping items before we get into the meat of the conversation. My name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead here at My Home Connection, also known as MHC Realty. Our sponsor for today is our perfect real estate business. We are just simply trying to reinvent real estate. No small undertaking there, but really want to get into the psychology of real estate success, where everything should start and how it should take you through the progression of a successful career. Obviously, we've got to introduce the normal tools and skills associated to an agent's growth, a team's growth. So we offer all that, but the thing we recommend the most is just taking advantage of our no obligation consultation and see how it is that we might help with your business. But other than that, let's bring Dr. Hall in and talk about this idea of agents going out and I think I don't know about the percent what percentage of the agents would be, but most of us would love to get that silver bullet, find that system, that practice, that business in a box that just makes us wildly successful, and we're off to the races, and everything is great and grand, without understanding that there are limitations that we are going to come across inside our own head before we can even appreciate that. Is that a fair?
Yeah, absolutely. There's an old cartoon. These two scientists are in front of a mathematical equation, and it's on the chalkboard, and they've got their lab coats on, and the one guy points at the equation and he says, I think you're a little vague on this step right there. And right there in that step it says, then a miracle occurs.
A little fake.
And I think people view success as like, okay, at some point I do this formula, then a miracle occurs, and then we can finish. Uh, you're a little fuzzy on that step.
Yeah. So it's not in our experience, it's not a miracle, it's work.
It is. It's working out those middle steps, and that's hard work. The particular thing we're going to talk about today is that even if you do the hard work, there are a number of self-limiting beliefs that even if you do the hard work will cap your success or prevent you from expanding even further.
Mm.
And it's largely mindset.
Yeah. So for those that want all of this without having an awareness of kind of where your mindset is currently at and how to break through that, really, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? We talked before the episode of people that acquire great fame, great wealth, great whatever influence quickly don't have the system, the tools, the
Mm-hmm.
mindset to even be there. So to desire that prematurely is just really kind of a waiting for a train wreck.
Well, it is a train wreck. what people assume is, oh, if I just have this miracle occur, then I'll get all this money, I'll have all this success, and I'll be able to handle it. And what they don't understand is that the 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 repeated practice of going at it each time improves your ability to handle the responsibility that comes with that increased income, that comes with that success. The analogy I use all the time is electricity, which is I'm really good with the outlet in my wall. I feel very, very safe plugging things into the wall outlet.
Mm.
When we get behind the dryer, so the regular wall outlet is 110. Behind the dryer, it's like, I think, 220. And I don't feel as comfortable with that because I don't have as much training with that. I might make a mistake with that. But then you start to go out to the the transformer box and up on the power pole, or you go to the network station and there are all these electrical things behind high chain link fences with barbed wire on them, and you think, oh, I know how to do electricity. I use it every day.
Right.
Why don't you go in there and start rewiring a transformer live? Well, the reason is you don't know enough, and it'll kill you.
Yeah.
And I think the same is true with any kind of power, that you can learn the practice. You can practice the skills. You can learn the skills to improve, but then you have to do it. You can't just jump from wall outlet to electrical substation and think, oh, I got this, and,
Yeah.
and and make it on confidence alone. You'll
Right.
end up dead.
Right. No, I love that analogy. My visual is, hey, I'm a homeowner and I've taken care of my house. Somebody shows up, offers me a job to go, put me on a helicopter and take me out to the power lines. And now I'm, managing, manipulating, yeah,
Yeah,
in the
from a
midair.
helicopter, sure. Yeah,
It's like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
yeah. So people just assume that when the miracle occurs, then they will have the success, and then they'll be able to handle it. It does take a lot of time and a lot of practice to get there. But then once you get to a certain point, and this is the part we're going to talk about today, you may have some self-limiting beliefs that keep you from really embracing that power, from achieving even greater success.
Kind of by design, so you don't get yourself in trouble.
Well,
Some of them.
some of the some of it is, what happens is you have the competence, you've done the practice, you know how to do it, but you're a little bit afraid. That's a self-limiting belief,
Mm.
that if I do this, then what are the consequences of it, and do I want to deal with the consequences? Maybe I can play it safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the first one here and the second maybe
Yeah,
are kind of interconnected on what you're describing, but let's try to hone in on
yeah, sure.
high earners, right? So you've achieved some level of success. You're actually
Hmm.
in this business full time doing your thing, and now you have a higher earning than you did prior, but for whatever reason, you always seem to bump up against a production ceiling that you can't exceed. Did I hear you just say? Um, your mind is kind of pushing back on you a little bit so that
Yeah,
because it
you
doesn't know how to feel comfortable.
right. You're under stress. You don't reach your potential. You revert to your most well practiced habits.
Mm,
And so what you'll do is you'll revert to the things that you've done before. So people hit an invisible ceiling. They've learned how to make that. They've gotten enough practice. They aspire for more, but they haven't learned the new skills to get to there. And most of them are mindset skills. Most of
mm,
them are people skills. The there are, of course, some process skills, but many of them are mindset and people skills that are, frankly, it's all the soft skills. At
yeah.
some point, the thing that separates incredibly successful people from um, regularly successful people is that second set of skills, which are largely soft skills, human being skills, thinking skills. There's a great book written by um, uh, a consultant that I really admire, and the title of the book says everything. What got you here won't get you there.
Mm, yeah.
So all the skills that you learn to get to here, that's great, but you have to learn more skills to get you there. And many of them are mindset skills. And again, some of them are habits of mind, some of them are people skills. Um, but you will revert to the things that you've practiced the most. And so having a learner's mind, having the willingness to be open to learning more and watching people who are more successful than you and asking for their advice, that will get you to that next level.
I liken what you're hearing in my space to the evolution of I'm a producing agent and I'm producing well by myself, and now I have a bandwidth or a scalability issue. So now I become a team lead, a team
Mm-hmm.
manager, or maybe even a broker. And now, like you said, I've got agents that I need to enlist in the vision to take things to the next level. And those are totally different skills. Like you said, those soft skills of how to work with agents as opposed to just directly with clients, the day-to-day
Right.
activity of what I used to do. I've got to probably still do some of that, but now I've got to introduce these soft skills that I didn't otherwise have, and that doesn't happen overnight. So I have to kind of ease into it. We went back through expedition here again recently, and I was um, focusing on culture, and
Mm-hmm.
your train, test, um,
Trust.
yeah, train, uh, test, trust.
Yep.
Those aren't things that you necessarily. I mean, you do that with yourself to some degree, but it's pretty rapid fire. When you're working with other people, like you said, those soft skills of taking your time and giving them the leash was one of your analogies to kind of go
Yeah.
out a little further that you did. Yeah, those are skills that just take time. And that's a whole nother level with a whole different daily activity and different practices.
Right. Right. So when you scale, you increase complexity, and controlling yourself is really different than managing other people or leading other people, because you really can't control grown-ups.
Yeah.
Um,
We're in charge of grown-ups, hopefully.
we're in charge of grown-ups, but we don't control grown-ups. Yes.
Right. Yeah, and if your natural inclination is to be in control, we all know that's a pretty flawed, pretty
It,
likely
it, it
failed
it works if I'm
approach.
just trying to control myself. The problem comes when I expand that to other grown-ups, or
Yeah.
even young adult, even teenagers, or
Yeah.
large children.
Yeah, that makes sense. So high earners needing to, earn more, different skills. And then what's this idea of self-sabotaging? Why would your brain kind of push? Is that what's happening? Is pushing back on
Yeah.
your efforts to grow?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, our brain is seeking efficiency. Our brain burns calories, and in order to not burn too many calories, to work too hard, it reverts back to habits. And so we will self-sabotage ourselves with old habits or ways of not having to learn. I mean, we've
Mm.
all done it. I mean, I do it, right? I have the opportunity to write another chapter in my book, and suddenly my desk needs to be cleared off. I
Okay,
mean,
that's what's going on there. Is you're
yeah, I
trying
mean,
to conserve energy.
well, it doesn't take nearly as much brain power to reorganize my desk or go through my files. It takes a lot more brain effort to create out of nothing, from my ideas, put it on paper, make it a new thing, make it sound good.
Mm.
So there's a lot more work. So we're all doing those things. So you may do the same things. You may, because of your belief system, think, okay, this is enough money. There's a really pernicious thing that happened, I think, with good intent. Martin Seligman, uh, probably about 20 years ago, talked about the relationship between happiness and money. And in one of his books, and then this became very popularized, he said, if you make more than X amount of money, and I'm kind of hesitant to name the number, but since I'm burning this idea to the ground, I may as well mention the number. I mean, and don't get me wrong, Seligman is a giant. I mean, I'm just a guy, but Seligman in 100 years will view him the way people today view Sigmund Freud, as a pivotal figure in the history of psychology, except for the good. I think Freud was for the bad. Seligman is for the good. But what he said, maybe 20 years ago was, after a certain point of income, there's no increased level of happiness. And so what he said is that people really don't need to make more than, and this was the number he said, $75,000 a year. That's the pivot point.
Okay.
That if you make more than $75,000 a year, it doesn't really increase your satisfaction, doesn't make you a happier person. So he was kind of like, so we really don't need more than that. Well, people went with that and just went nuts and said, well, I shouldn't make more than that. And I actually had a colleague tell me, no one in the world needs to make more than $75,000 a year. And I thought, why not? So what happens is somebody says a number. Okay, in this case, it was Seligman or my colleague, and they say, this is the acceptable amount of money. Any more than that, you become, a greedy SOB, or some negative thing. And so people will sabotage themselves because they think, okay, if I make more money than this, if I have more sales than this,
I'm being greedy.
I'm being greedy. I'm morally corrupt. And I've certainly heard that message. I think it's wrong. Now, to clarify, Seligman never said it's morally wrong to do that. But what happened is he made a number based on data at the time and said, this is the number. Well, frankly, it's not the number. Okay? If you're a single person living in Enid, Oklahoma, okay, maybe 75 grand is enough.
LA?
But if you're a family of 5 living in, I don't know, Connecticut, you just can't live, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in Boston, if you're in San Francisco, if you're in New York, Chicago, any of the major metro areas, 75 grand, like that's what you spend on cab fare. Yeah. So it's just wrong to make that number. But what it does is it sets an anchor in your mind about, okay, this is the acceptable amount. And there's a heuristic called the anchoring heuristic, that once you anchor something with a number, then it makes it hard to get away from that number. Now, you in real estate see that when you're negotiating on a house. So if somebody asks a list price on their house, let's say they ask, let's say $1.5 million. That's their anchor. And somebody comes up to them, first day it's on the market, says, I'll give you 1.2. And they go, that's insulting. That's just insulting. Why? Because they've anchored themselves at 1.5.
Yeah.
Well, over the next 2.5 years, and nobody offers on the house, guess what happens? The anchor gets dragged away from 1.5 down to 1.2. And what happens? They would have taken it, but they had to drag the anchor off their initial set point. The same happens with finances. You have an anchor about which you say, this is an adequate amount of money. I'm a bad, immoral person, greedy, unworthy of love, deserving of punishment if I aspire for more. That's going to get into one of the other things we talk about in a little bit, which is the ideas of others about us.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Yeah.
That others' criticism of us does hamper our ability to succeed.
Interesting. Yeah, well, I think that one's coming up right after the next one here, but let's finish this overlay, and that's this money story, this, as I understand it, this kind of film going on in your head, and the story you tell yourself about, I think you've been speaking to that, is what is money? What am I going to do with money? What does money make me? What are my intentions with money? And, what has money done to other people or even me? And how do you escape that story if it's holding you back?
Well, everybody's story does hold them back because it's a narrative for our life. One of the most important questions I ask people after my 8 most important questions is, what is the purpose of money? If we start talking about financial success, I ask them, what's the purpose of money? And everybody has a different reason for money. Some of it's safety, security. Some of it is pleasure. Some of it is, and pleasure would fit in the, I want to buy, a Maserati and a Ferrari and, have an infinity pool installed overlooking the Malibu coastline, because I want to, I want to get on Instagram and take lots of pictures. Well, that's not my purpose for money. Other people, it's freedom. Some people want enough money that people will just leave them alone, that they don't have to depend on other people. So your money story is important about why you seek it. And then part of your money story is what happens when you have money. What was your family narrative about money? And if your family narrative was people around the dinner table in your family say, "Oh, those rich people, oh, well, those rich people," like there's some different species, and that if you think that people with wealth are morally deficient or that money makes them bad, and sometimes it does bring out the negative qualities in people, then you're going to be afraid of having that happen to you.
Mhm.
um, one of my friends used to say, money doesn't change you, it only magnifies what's already there.
Mhm.
And so if you're a person who's already generous, more money will make you more generous. If you're a person who is stingy, you'll become more stingy. So it just magnifies what's already there. But it's important that you start to look at, what's the purpose of money? What did my family say about money? Do you know examples of people that you admire who have financial wealth?
Mhm.
And then how do you imitate those people rather than the bad people? I use this example all the time, so maybe people are sick of it, which is Scrooge McDuck. I mean, we all know this cartoon character, right?
Yeah.
And the purpose of Scrooge McDuck's money was that he was going to fill rooms with cash that he could ski on and coins that he could swim in. And people have in their head that, oh, if you're wealthy, you do nothing but play in your money. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. Um, and if you view the accumulation of money as, I'm going to use it for my own pleasure, then yeah, you would see that as morally repugnant. But if you see it as, oh, now that I have this tool, how do I use this tool to help other people? And one way that you help other people in the free market is you invest the money. You allow other people to use your money for a time to fulfill a purpose that they want,
Mhm.
and in return they give you interest. That's how the free market works.
Yeah.
um, so if you view that as doing good by letting other people use your money that you're not using at the time, and for that they pay you a fee or they pay you with interest, then if you view that as a moral good, then you're going to want more money because you want to create more moral good. Do you see how all that changes how you view money?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it starts with an awareness of your thoughts. And
Mm-hmm.
then are they good thoughts? Are they what how do you say that? That's is it a realistic thought? Uh is it an accurate thought? Is it a helpful thought? Right? Is that kind of what you're doing? Is just
Yeah, is it true? Is it accurate? Is it helpful? Those are the things I do say. Um,
gotcha.
it, it- so
But if you don't
so
challenge them, it's going to hold you back.
it's, yeah. If you don't challenge them, that will hold you back. If you think, oh, I've just had this windfall, and now I'm going to become Scrooge McDuck, and I'm going to stack cash in a room and just roll around in it, uh, then yeah, that's morally reprehensible. I get it.
Hmm.
But if you view money as a power, a type of power, and that power could be used for good or it could be used for ill, it's completely up to you.
What do you think of the exercise of imagining yourself winning the lottery? Like there's a, $1
Yeah.
billion lottery and, the first, 60 seconds, 120 seconds of things that you would do, with that money probably would indicate how that's going to magnify who you are. Yeah. Do you think that's a
I,
decent
I
exercise?
I think it's a decent exercise, but I think that first 60 seconds is not enough,
Okay.
because what happens is is um, you're immediately going to go to distraction and pleasure. It's like, okay, I'm going to get I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and we're going to have it'll all be
Okay.
fun.
Uh-huh.
But then once the fun runs out, okay, then
Ah,
what do you do with it?
yeah.
See, that it's that second stage. Like, if someone has a windfall, I'm delighted that they go on fancy vacations, and I'm delighted that they
Good for
upgrade their
them.
vehicles and they live in a nicer house. That's fantastic. I don't hold that against them. But once that's done, then comes what's the
Yeah.
purpose of money?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Human nature wants to live a nicer life, do better things. But
Mm-hmm.
then once you've experienced that and you settle into the idea of having that money, what do you want to do with your resources?
Right, right. There's a guy named Dan Sullivan, and he's got a company called Strategic Coach, and he talks about what he calls are the four freedoms.
Okay.
And the first freedom is freedom of money.
Mm.
And he says once you have a certain amount of money, that buys you. This is my interpretation of it. Um, is once you have a certain amount of money, that buys you freedom of time,
Mm.
because the time you used to spend changing your own oil in your vehicle,
Mm.
now you trade money to get back that time and have somebody else change your
Yeah.
oil.
Yeah.
Or at some point, if you have enough money and you have the inclination, you decide, okay, I'm going to trade money for the time I save mowing my lawn. Okay, I'm going to pay somebody to do that. So you get back time. Well, what you do with that time then gets you to the third freedom, which is the freedom of purpose. That
Mm.
when you start spending money on hiring people to do jobs that free you up for the best and highest use of your time, the best and
Mm.
highest use of your attention and your energy, then you can start fulfilling your purpose in life,
Okay.
which leads to the final freedom, which is freedom of relationships.
Mm.
Once you start pursuing your life purpose, you begin to attract around you kinds of people that are different than were attracted to you before,
Mm.
because they're attracted to the life you're living, the purpose that you have.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think you're gonna, attract the right kind of people driving around a Maserati with the radio blaring, and you're gonna attract like wonderful people who want in your life, that's
Probably not.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's it. And if you go to the bar and start throwing money around, you're probably not going to attract the woman. In my case, the woman that you want to be the parent of your children. I mean, it's just so you start to once you start to pursue your purpose, then you find yourself in relationships with people who are also pursuing the same purpose,
Mm.
and those are more resonant relationships.
Yeah.
So it's freedom of money,
Okay.
freedom of time,
Yep.
freedom of purpose, freedom of relationships.
Mm. Love it. Love it. Well, let's go. I think we had already kind of started to transition to, or maybe it was a follow-on one, but let's keep going down the road here, the
Uh,
row here.
yeah, identity expansion versus income growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you make more money but you don't change yourself, you're just a bigger version of the same old person you used to be.
So
And
you're a
you need
child. You're kind of just, everything you do is kind of what you would have done as a teenager in high school, and now you get a bunch of more money. You're a
yeah,
bigger
I mean that
child.
you're just a bigger kid, right? And again, you don't give a child the opportunity to work on the electrical transformer in your yard or out on the power pole, because they're
Hmm.
just not prepared for it. So you have to grow into this new identity and view it as, okay, I have power, and this is the Spider-Man speech: with great power comes great responsibility. And so I think you have to change your identity from I'm a person who gets this is for my pleasure to, oh, there's a responsibility that comes with this new level of financial success. How am I going to fulfill that responsibility? What do I need to do with it?
Is identity as simple as who I am and what I'm about? Is that kind of the best way to capture that? Like if I,
That seems kind of vague. What does that mean? Who I am and
well,
what I'm about? What does that mean?
yeah, well, as you were talking, like what's important to me, like when I was in high school and I wanted to do these things, fast cars and you know,
And cute
playing and
girls and
girls, yeah, like that's my
yeah,
identity, who I am and what I'm about. And
right.
now you get a bump in growth, and now you've got a team and you've got more money. Um, that's not sustainable with that group. Like I can't imagine a real estate team is super excited for you to be out there racing cars and chasing women.
If you surround yourself with people who think that is the ideal life, then yeah, they're going to think, oh, flashy clothes, flashy cars, flashy dates. We're going to go out and drink till 3 in the morning. If that's your purpose in life, you will attract around you people who fulfill that purpose in life. However, you might find that kind of quote success fleeting because it's a
Okay.
misuse of the power. This
Okay.
this is the tragic story of so many people who are in athletics. Their career window is about 6 years, and you got to make all your money in 6 years. Well, if you spend all your money in those 6 years, like you're going to have it for the next 66 years,
Yeah.
then you spend the rest of your life pining for what could have been, but
I
you
Go ahead.
misused it.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I came across, it was a fairly short interview, or at least I watched a segment of it. And it was a gentleman. I was embarrassed to not know who he was, but very quickly the guy asked him, what was he making and at what age? And it seems like he was making like tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, his early 30s. And he
Yeah,
retired. And he said, "Oh, yeah, how's your life after retirement?" He said, "Horrible. I hated
horrible.
it."
Yeah,
He
yeah.
goes, "Why?" He's like, "That's all I ever did was basketball." He goes, "Every moment of my life was basketball." So what I heard, my identity is I'm a basketball player, and now I'm not a basketball player, even with a lot of money, and now I'm miserable.
Well, see, here we'll go back to the four freedoms. He had freedom of money.
Uh huh.
What did he use his freedom of time to
Mm.
do next? If it's
Hmm.
just entertainment, entertainment is fantastic in the short run. All
Ah.
distraction is useful in the short run. I highly recommend it in the short run, but it's a lousy way to lead your life. So he hadn't taken the time to figure out what's my next purpose. And
Mm.
then once he got to the next purpose, then or how he's going to use his time, what's his purpose going to be, then he'd
Hmm.
have different relationships. But all he did was fritter his time away.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's not enough.
Yeah. It's empty. It's hollow. It's like, oh, I did all that, and now I hit the end of my interest, and now I
Right.
feel like lost. Maybe.
So yeah, so I think there are some people who are afraid of this ending as well. They go, well, if I had enough money, I know myself, I'd just sit back and I'd get drunk every day and lay on the couch. Okay, well maybe that's a self-limiting, self-sabotaging belief that yeah, you what you said is I'm too irresponsible with power, so I'm going to
Mm.
prevent myself from having power.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
you got to
and
step
until
into
you
it at
change your
different.
identity
Yeah.
to a lazy guy who gets drunk and lays on the couch all day, until you decide there's something more for me,
Mm.
then yeah, you'll self-sabotage all day long.
Yeah. So the way that it's worded here is that is accurate. Then your identity expansion, like you're growing as your income is growing, and they're commensurate to.
Well, what yeah, once you have income, again, you're trading money for time. It's how you use that time. If you use that time to just screw around, then your identity doesn't change.
Mm.
It's just you're turbocharging the old identity. You're not learning, you're not growing, you're not expanding your potential. So so yeah, you're kind of gonna get stuck in the same spot. But if you use that time to do deep dive on reflection of what's most important to me, um, let me use a kind of a made up, kind of real example. Let's say you're and we'll use because it's convenient to our conversation. You're a professional athlete. Your career is over, so your earning potential goes from way up here to not way up here.
Hmm.
Well, if you decide, well, my my appreciable skills are woodworking. Well, you're not going to make millions doing woodworking,
Right.
but you can have a meaningful life making good money if you use the time to identify yourself with, how do I use the skills I had to become a great athlete, use those same skills to become a great woodworker, so that I can
Yeah.
create beautiful pieces of art that people are going to want in their homes, or furniture that's useful, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And then um, I can't probably make as much money as I did, but I can create value. I can create good things, and then you got a whole nother career ahead of you.
Yeah, interesting. I hopefully this makes sense in the context of what we're talking about. But Michael Jordan's transition from basketball to NASCAR, he says is because of his competitive nature. I thought was a pretty interesting one. He's like, this is what I did, and now I had this money, but I've always been interested in NASCAR. He didn't want to become a NASCAR driver.
Well, he's just built wrong for a NASCAR driver. I mean,
Yeah, he's not going to fit in the
they'd have to
car.
expand the roll cage for the guy. He's just too tall.
Yeah, but I loved he took everything that he had in the way that he approached basketball. It was,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take my resources, I'm going to take my competitive spirit, and I'm going to dump it into NASCAR. Not only do I want to win NASCAR races, but I want to change the industry.
Yeah,
Because that's what he did
yeah.
to basketball. I mean, he
That's
had
what
the
he did with
same.
basketball. Yeah,
Yeah, I thought was
yeah. And
awesome.
so, I think it's a great example, and he's a person. I mean, he's got outsized success in basketball and in marketing himself. The relationship he created with Nike has been, incredibly fruitful for all of them. Um, but I think he's not the only person who reaches a level of success and then says, okay, I'm going to use that same level of success in a different endeavor. And we see people kind of reinventing themselves. And so in real estate, you may be selling houses, and then at some point you go, well, how do I expand this, and how do I do different kind of development? How do I do different kind of real estate? How do I look at this from a different way? And you can use all the skills you learn to become successful in one lane, and then change lanes and become successful again.
Yeah, we just had our client appreciation event this weekend, and we introduced luxury homes. We've done luxury homes in the past, but we formalized it over the last year. We got certified and became a member of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. And anyway, I guess I'm just as I'm thinking through that, kind of what you're talking about is we had to take the skills that we had and being successful, and helping first-time home buyers, upsizers, downsizers,
Right.
and then say, okay, let's do all that from the same perspective or same, heartfelt or
Same
service
values, but
minded.
but different. Yeah,
But
yeah.
now obviously you got to position luxury homes different. You got to, there's just
It
things you
it
got to do.
There's just things you got to do because the customers are different. The
Yeah.
customers have different expectations, and the problems that you're solving are some the same and some very different.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to ask about who made you know who was the carpenter and the refrigeration specialist who put together my wine cellar. I mean, a first time home, it's just, it's a refrigerator
Right.
that you bought
Right.
at Home Depot.
Yeah.
So those are all different sorts of things, but you learn those as you go along. And if you decide not to go into luxury home, but you go into multifamily, or you go into commercial,
Yeah.
or you just go into straight land development, I mean,
Yeah.
all of those are different avenues, and there's probably more that experts in real estate know that I don't even know about. But they're different avenues that you can pursue, and you take one set of skills that you've learned in one discipline, and then you apply them to the next.
Yeah.
But it requires that drive. Back to the Michael Jordan things. I'm competitive. He has drive.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I like that this transition because it speaks to a lot what you were talking about. If my perception was that everybody with money must be bad because they're greedy and they stole it from somebody, or insert negative perspective here,
sure.
that's not going to be very good with my relationship with them because I'm already assuming that they're bad people, and now I'm helping bad people, so maybe I'm a bad person. Anyway, kind of come back full circle around.
Yeah. I've worked with people who have said that I don't trust people with money. It's like, well, okay, because they're morally reprehensible. Okay, I mean, you can believe that all you want, and that is going to limit your upside potential.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. So let's talk about let's see here. Um, the idea that and I wish I could repeat it in any way close to the way you described it
Well,
at the beginning of this episode. Yeah.
you're gonna get to the nervous system, but I want to say one thing
Okay.
before we
Yes.
get there, which is one of the things that successful people have to deal with are the critics. And
Mm,
there are people who will criticize you, and many people are um, afraid to become more successful because they're afraid of the critics. They're afraid of what people will say to them
mm,
about them or to them. And
mhm,
if you are bound by that, you will sabotage yourself.
mm,
And there's a great um, saying by Teddy Roosevelt called "The Man in the Arena." Um, but but essentially, he says it's not the critic who counts, but the person who strives and fails and gets up and tries again. It's He calls it the man in the arena.
mm.
That's what really counts.
Yeah.
Um, and if you are in the arena, man or woman, if you're in the arena and you're in there, you're struggling, you're getting after it. The people who are in the seats watching you perform, they're always going to be critical because
Always. Haters
that's
will
just
hate.
what they are.
Yeah.
Um, so if that sort of critique is more than you want to bear, then yes, you will limit yourself because you don't like people taking shots at you. And with what's happening in our online communities now, um, we've got we've essentially got bots that are just outrage bots. It doesn't matter what your content is.
They're just going to
There's
blast
some
it.
they're going to blast you and talk about what a phony you are and what a fool you are, and that might not even be a real person.
Yeah.
But that outrage gets more clicks, and so it's designed to do that. And then there you're always going to have trolls that should go back under their bridge, and and that's what they do. So
Yeah.
if that's not the world you want to live in, then you will probably limit yourself.
Well, it's very timely for you to say that because I know that I got to be aware of what comes at you, right? Our character is who we truly are. Our reputation is what people say about us. So that that resonates. But I did find myself interesting as I was kind of replaying the client appreciation event and how I introduced our approach to the luxury home market was, and I was wondering why I said it, but I wanted to be crystal clear that this isn't our full new direction. It's just an additional aspect of
Yes,
the
it's
business we do, almost to the point of trying to convince somebody of something. And I was like, I wonder why I did that. But as we were talking, I think it's because I didn't want them to start taking jobs like, oh, now that's where they're headed. That's who they're going to be in the
but
future.
there are people who will take that approach,
Mm,
and then you've got to say, okay, back to the freedom of relationships. Are they the people who will
mm,
walk alongside you? Are they the people that you agree to walk along together with? And
mm. Yeah.
they may not be.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So just real time, like everything we're talking about, man, I find my head doing this, thinking that, being aware of that. And it's just a rabbit hole you can't go down.
But Jared, you're not describing anything really unique to you. This is a common human condition, and so what you're transparently saying is what is happening in most people's lives. You're not fundamentally different than them.
Mm,
They probably have those same insecurities and fears, and maybe even more so.
yeah.
So it's fantastic that you're revealing that because it's going to show the audience, okay, I'm not alone in my concerns about these. It's a common thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it's helpful for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly it is for me to talk about it. But as far as how it affects not only our brain and how we think, but you described very eloquently before the episode started, kind of this holistic, being that we are, and how the psychology affects the biology or the what's the other word you used?
The physiology.
Physiology. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, this is the drum I've been banging for the last 30 years, which is we have this mind body dualism, this belief that our minds and our bodies are distinct and that they're not integrated. And so as a result, we think,
Separate
well, this
systems.
well, we've thought they were separate systems. It's like, well, this is a body thing and this is a mind thing. So
Mm,
this is real, this is organic, and
yeah.
this is psychology.
Okay.
Well, the neuroscience revolution, what it's taught us is that it's all the same. That biology changes psychology. Psychology does change biology. Biology. That's the fundamental thing. That the more repeatedly you think a thought,
Yeah.
you're actually changing your brain chemistry and your brain physiology. Neurons are growing
Mm,
new dendrites so that they connect better for this habitual pattern of thinking. And what happens is, the analogy is you're cutting a new highway in your brain, and that highway carries more traffic. The more you think it, the more you rehearse it, the more neurons will grow more dendrites to make that message go down that path. That
interesting.
changes your physiology. Well, you change
Yeah.
the physiology of your brain, it starts to change downstream the endocrine system, the pituitary, the thyroid, the adrenals, all the whole endocrine system. All of that changes your whole physiology, your metabolism, which is mitochondrial energy. And so your thinking actually changes your body. People go, well, it's just psychosomatic. It's like, yeah, it's real,
Right.
because your thinking changes all these things downstream. And so I've been banging this drum for so long. I'm glad more people are getting it now, that your psychology, your mindset will have create a physiological change in your brain. That physiological change in your brain will change many of the
Mm,
downstream systems from your brain, which are the endocrine system, the digestive system. I mean, all of it's all related, and so it's one doesn't make the other go. They work back and forth. So it's important that you look at biology. It's important you look at chemistry, but it's also important that you look at psychology, mindset, because that mindset changes both the biochemistry and the physiology.
I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because obviously the majority of what we talk about is the psychology of things, but just out of interest, is the physiology side of things, the how we take care of our physical self, does that translate as hard in the other direction to our psychology? Like us eating right and changing our gut biome and being
It, it,
our nervous
yes,
system and getting in alignment and building skeletal muscle. Does that
yes,
translate to our
to our
psychology
psychology, absolutely, absolutely.
as
Um,
strongly, or would you say more powerfully from the psychology to the physiology?
I'm not sure I know which direction is more powerful. I
But they're
do
both
know
important.
that I think they're both important. I think what I encourage people to do is start with biology, then go to chemistry, then go to psychology. That's the
Mm,
order that I ask people to go in.
say
But
that
what I
again.
know, biology, chemistry, psychology, that's the order.
Okay.
So, do you have a physiological issue? Is there a substance that you're consuming or is in your system, that's chemistry,
Okay.
and then psychology. And if you're trying to filter out the noise, the easiest thing to filter out is biology, then chemistry, then psychology. Psychology is
Oh,
as complicated as those other things are. Psychology is, I think,
more
even more
complicated.
complicated, and we understand it less.
I see.
So
That's why you
I like to
start there.
filter out those other things first.
That
Yes,
makes sense.
and
Yeah,
there's
start with the easy stuff and graduate to the more difficult.
right, and then once you get to psychology, the emotions are important, of course. The thing that is easiest and we can most directly influence is our thinking. And so the most reliable way to change emotions and to change behavior is to change thinking.
Mm.
And so it may not be the most powerful way, but it is the most reliable way.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay, man. We could talk about this till the cows come home, but
Yeah.
let's talk about this last item here. So, our industry has a tons of peaks and valleys, right? Like hero to zero, like that's our life. Especially when you monitor things like units sold or GCI, gross commissionable income, and you kind of restart every month or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but how do we get ourselves into more of a consistent income instead of this roller coaster that quite often makes a lot of people want to jump off, either because they can't handle the peaks, right? They don't
Yeah.
have the character and haven't had the adversity, so they kind of bounce out because they make big mistakes, or the valleys are just discouraging and depressing, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. And how do you stabilize that, and then but continue to go in an upward direction? So not
I-
stable as in flat, but stable as in consistently upward.
right. Upward and to the right.
Yes. Yeah, depending on how my mirror's
You know,
doing.
I use this phrase a lot, and I'm not a big baseball guy, but I used to play Little League and Pony League, and it's just your number of at bats that the the more you practice something, the more consistent you will become at it. Um, there's a What you're talking about are the peaks and valleys of income, and there is no steady upward income. It's just that doesn't happen. What you get is what I would call
Mm.
a sawtooth pattern of going up.
Mm-hmm.
And so part part of going up is is at bats, the number of times that you're doing this. And so if we'll play out the baseball analogy, and then we'll go to money. So if I'm 9 years old and I'm playing, coach pitch Little League, for the
Mm-hmm.
first time, and I strike out a lot, and then I get a hit. Okay, so it's been famine, 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 feast,
Yep.
famine, famine, famine. Okay, so the more times I get the opportunity to swing the bat at the ball, the more hits I'm going to get. Well, eventually the number of hits is going to start going up. Well, then the next year I get more at bats, and guess what? My batting percentage gets increases and gets better over time. I
Yeah.
have good games, I have bad games, I have good games, but over time it moves up and to the right. And if we look at anybody's progress, it's always sawtooth progress.
Mm.
And so part of it is you start out with feast, and it's famine, 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 feast, famine, famine, and then eventually it goes famine, feast, famine, feast, famine, feast, and then it goes famine, feast, 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 famine, feast, feast, feast. You just start to get
Yeah.
better at it,
Yeah.
and that comes from really learning and getting better at whatever your craft is. If
Yeah.
if you're just putting in the time, you're never gonna get above a certain plateau
It
because you haven't practiced.
Yeah, it is amazing to me. My brother said some time ago, and it just clicked about everything. And it just happened to be, he was a three-gun shooter and in the gun
Hmm.
industry for quite
Yeah,
a while. And he says, it's reps. It's reps.
it's
Like he
reps.
just kept
It's
saying it's
reps.
reps. And I'm
Yeah.
like, huh. He'd go out and he'd teach me some things. He'd go, now you got to go through the reps. I'm going to teach you something, and now you got to do the reps. So it cements it in. And then it just occurred to me that almost everybody that has done anything at any significantly high level of performance, a bowler, what do you think they do all day, every day?
They go
They
to the
throw
lanes and they bowl,
they
right?
throw a bowling ball down the
Right.
alley,
Right.
excuse me. Uh, a basketball player, they're a good three-pointer. That's what that guy does all day, every day. He
All
throws.
day, at practice, after practice, on the weekends, they're just shooting baskets. Yes.
Yeah, everybody that does things at a high level, you just got to have the at bats, the throws, the
The reps,
the
that
reps.
the
It's
training. That's
repetition.
what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's repetition. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
And in real
if it
estate,
see,
go ahead.
so when we go back to that math problem, then a miracle occurs. Okay, the
Yep.
the miracle is practice. That's what happens. Is you just keep at it,
Yeah.
and you'll get better. But if
Full
if you
circle.
don't like the practice, then you won't keep at it, and you'll never be really great.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it in your expedition course. Was it Lynn Swan who you say, Lynn Swan? No, no, that wasn't Lynn Swan. It was Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice, yeah. Lynn Swan is another good choice for a
Yeah.
great wide receiver. Yeah.
But I think you used
Well,
him as, his teammates said, this guy loves to practice as
he
much, if
loves to
not more, than
practice.
play the game.
Yeah. And that was why he was so, for those of you who don't know football, but you do know Dancing with the Stars, that's why he was so good at Dancing with the Stars. He loved the practice. He was competitive and he loved the practice. So Jerry Rice is a great example. Michael Jordan is a great example. I mean, we're using athletes as examples, but you'll very often see people who love their craft once they have achieved success in that craft and they change course, they'll become successful in another craft
Yeah.
because they have those same skills of wanting to practice.
Yeah. I think this might be a little bit of a spoiler alert for one of our follow on episodes. Um, but kind of the squirrel thing, the shiny object thing in real estate, that's a real thing. Um, but we're going to talk about, how do you can't get in the reps if you're always doing something different. So you got to
Mm-hmm.
be, forward thinking about, okay, I'm going to do this or do these finite number of things in my business to create business. And I
Mm-hmm.
have to do the reps. How long have I been doing podcast episodes for? Ours is about coaching, mentoring, and training.
Yeah,
But I haven't, a whole nother channel
you have a whole
for
nother channel, right?
the real estate thing. And, sometimes it feels like I'm banging my head against the wall so that when I quit, it feels better, I mean, but I got to do the reps. I got to get better at
Right.
doing podcasts. But that's what I've chosen as a means of sharing value and education with my
Yeah.
clients. And at some point, hopefully that gets traction. So some are long term, some are short term, but you got to do it until you get good at it and people notice and appreciate it.
Yes. Yes. And if you look at success, there's just a ton of behind the scenes effort that happens. That's the miracle that occurs. Is there's a lot of behind the scenes practice. It's doing the reps, as your brother says, at bats. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's the practice.
Yeah.
There's a in my field a relatively famous, influential academician named Albert Ellis. And his two words were work and practice, work and practice. That's how you get better. Work and practice. It's not brilliance. It's work and practice.
Yeah. Yeah. The practice on the back end is what precedes the overnight success.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh yeah, it took me 15 years to be an overnight success. I mean, we hear that story all the time. It's
We hear
very
the story all
seldom.
the time.
It's very seldom that it happens overnight. And I can almost guarantee you, for the person that it did happen overnight, the things you speak to in an expedition, they didn't have the adversity to build the character, that was the crucible to, I mean, there's a lot of things that you talk about in there, but there's things like you started talking about at the beginning of this episode that need to precede that success. Otherwise, you know, it,
Yeah. You just don't get there. You there's so much practice that happens behind the scenes. And once you get that practice done, you've got your process. So once you're good at it, then you've got to work on your mindset, which is another set of practices.
yeah.
So that your mindset is preparing you for that level of success.
Yeah. I love it. I think this is a perfect way to wrap up the episode because we're going to share with our audience how to get in touch with you, the tools that you have, and how to work on that very thing. So why don't you share with the folks that are watching
Yeah,
and listening?
probably the best way to get in touch with me is my website, drrogerhall.com, drrogerhall.com. On it, you can find links to my social media. I'm on all the platforms. You can look for my stuff under Second Thoughts with Dr. Roger Hall. On the website, you can see my books, DIY Brain, Staying Happy, Being Productive, and Expedition. I've got another one in the queue called DIY Leader Brain that, I've been rearranging my desk so I didn't have to write another chapter. I also have an online course called Freak Out, and you can access that from the website. So those, and if you'd like to get in touch with me, reach out through the website on the contact me if you'd like to work with me. And those are probably the best ways to connect.
I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways that I would say is, working with somebody like yourself. We've talked about the blind spot, and that's really when a coach, a mentor, a trainer, comes in, is because you're not going to know, like, why do I have a hang up about those luxury home buyers and sellers? And man, I just struggle to engage with them. What is my problem? And you if they use your skills of monitoring what you think, right? Put in the ladle in your stream of consciousness, then you might figure it out. But working with somebody like yourself that says, just through a conversation, like, man, you kind of talk about high net worth, ultra high net worth people with a scowl on your face, or kind of a cringe. What's that all about?
What's that all
Well,
about? And yeah, and you may decide those are not my people. Okay, cool.
yeah,
Then you're going to have to get a lot more volume in order to achieve that level of success. And when you get there, you're going to go, oh, now I've become one of those people. It's like, oh, okay, how does that work?
right, right. Yeah, love it, love it. Well, that's a great way to wind it down. We just hit the hour mark, so this was a little on the longer side, but a ton of valuable information, and hopefully just a lot of practical, real world about how to address these issues, be aware of them, and overcome them. So, thank you very much, Dr. Hall.
Oh, thank you, Jerod. I'm, as always, grateful to get to do this with you.
Awesome. All right. Other than that, we'll just wish everybody a blessed one. Take care.
Thank you.